Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be, wherever time zone you might be watching this Centennial Peace Forum. I cannot start my remarks today without first thanking the organizers for thinking that my personal experience towards freedom, sovereignty of Timor-Leste in building peace in a country might be really of relevance to the rest of you and to youth around the world. So I thank you for your generosity. At the same time, I cannot speak here before praising Rotaries for your 100 years of this great institution, the oldest non-state, non-governmental institution in the world, conceived by people with extraordinary vision and continued by people over generations with real determination, because there are not too many non-state, non-governmental institutions that can go on and on from strength to strength, overcoming challenges, setbacks, and reach such a global influence. So to all of you, today is also a cause for celebration, but also a cause for gratitude for those of us in countries like Timor-Leste who have benefited a lot, tremendously, from the Rotaries, particularly our friends Rotaries in Australia. I went to New York first time, had never been there, hardly ever traveled out of Timor-Leste, when I was only 25 years old. I had never seen snow in my life. I arrived in December 1975 in the midst of one of the worst winters in New York State. I was sent there by our leaders, and I remember fondly of Nicolau Lobato, one of the greatest leaders ever of our independence struggle. Someone I knew growing up in Soibada, a Catholic mission school. Also, like the Rotaries, one of the oldest in the region, and definitely the oldest in Timor-Leste, with more than 100 years existence. Nicolau Lobato entrusted me and the other colleagues, Mr. Mari Alcatiri, Mr. Rogério Lobato, the three of us departed Timor-Leste on the eve of the invasion of Timor-Leste by Indonesian forces, joining up with some others who were already overseas to begin what at the time seemed like our hopeless campaign for independence, to realize what many said at the time and over the years, a hopeless cause, to realize the dream that's primarily academic and romantic, but not realistic. That's what we were told. My mission was to go to New York, to lobby the United Nations, arriving in December 1975, assisted by some friends. I began lobbying the Security Council with my broken English, but always inspired, always the words of Nicolau Lobato ringing in my head. Horta, you go to New York to defend our cause at the United Nations. Always animated, inspired by Nicolau Lobato's words, I went on lobbying the powerful permanent members of the Security Council, the other non-permanent members, the 10, and across the UN entire system. I delivered a speech, followed by 2 more speeches, followed by another Security Council meeting the following year, April 76, and slowly I learned some lessons. One of the lessons I learned as a naive, innocent person who had great hopes and illusions about the United Nations, that the UN would finally come and stop the ongoing invasion and the killings. 2 UN Security Council resolutions were adopted, both unanimously. The first one, December 22nd, all permanent members, all 10 members voted unanimously, deploring the invasion, reaffirming the right of the people of Timor-Leste to self-determination and independence. This was followed by the second resolution in April. What did I learn? Some lessons in organized international hypocrisy. Well, let me clarify to you. On December 6, 1975, before the invasion of Timor-Leste by Indonesian forces, the late President Gerald Ford of the United States and the then Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, is still alive and still energetic, at least intellectually, were in Jakarta conferring with President Suharto of Indonesia. And the Americans gave green light for the invasion of Timor-Leste by Indonesia using American-supplied weapons. What would you do? What would you have done upon learning these lessons of hypocrisy? Well, you cannot give up. My first lesson. You have to believe, I had to believe, and I believe in the justice of our cause. The right to self-determination, to freedom, is a right of every nation in the world. And to achieve that, there are obstacles. All forms of obstacles can come militate against you. So you have to be determined, you have to be continuously reminding yourself of your mission, of your obligation. And I was all alone in New York. That was first lesson, in not giving up. And in doing so, you have also to keep learning. You have to equip yourself with knowledge. Without knowledge, you cannot be an effective fighter, whether in the battlefield or on the diplomatic front. You have to understand international relations. You have to understand the instrument of international relations, which is diplomacy. You have to understand the means by which to lobby. You lobby individually through dialogue, through persuasion, through charm sometimes. Yes, sometimes you can show your anger. You lobby through mobilizing public opinion, media. Very difficult then at that time. It was not the era of internet, let alone, like today, the era of TikTok, of Instagram, of Facebook, social media, that anyone can use effectively to put forward an issue, a pictures to people around the world. Look at the events in Myanmar today. I cannot fail to talk to you about Myanmar. The butchers of Myanmar, the military, the thugs, who have been ruling and misruling and ruining their country for 50 years. They demonize Suu Kyi, demonize the democracy movement there. And yet twice, Suu Kyi won the elections. The military were counting on Donald Trump. Donald Trump lost the election, Joe Biden came in, the new president, and the military decided to have to act quick, to impose a fait accompli on the world. Well, contrary to Timor-Leste in 1975, there was no social media. You could not break through the wall of silence imposed by Indonesian complete blockade. In Myanmar, they are able every day to reach out to the world. So media is a very important medium to communicate with the world. The power of the UN Secretary General rests primarily on his ability, his eloquence, his charisma, of course his intelligence, to articulate the vision of the UN, the vision of peace, of freedom, of justice to the world. I always told Secretary Generals, including Antonio Guterres in New York, Miss Secretary General, you do not command the Sixth Fleet or the Seventh Fleet. You do not command the biggest economy of the world. Your power is the power of communication to mobilize people around the world. So that has been my experience all these years in the fighting for independence. Then I became foreign minister, prime minister, minister of defense, president. And then in 2013, I was asked by Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, a wonderful human being. I'm still in touch with him very frequently on a number of issues around the world. I was sent to Guinea-Bissau in West Africa as a special representative under Secretary General of the UN. I was deployed there following a military coup a few months earlier to persuade the military to go back to barracks and to enable conditions for new election to be held. Who were my partners? Of course, everybody, civil society, media, but also the military. The first day of my arrival, I met with the then interim prime minister. Of course, I met with the whole UN staff, and I met with the men who orchestrated the military coup. Some people with too romantic views of politics, of diplomacy, were surprised. Why didn't I go see the military? Well, the military was the problem. I have to convince them to be part of a solution, to go back to the barracks with honor, with dignity. Well, to cut the story short, a year and a half later, we held elections, the freest in the entire history of Guinea-Bissau, very peaceful, and with tremendous financial and technical support from Timor-Leste. Timor-Leste was the single most important donor in terms of cash, equipment, and the know-how to the leaders in Guinea-Bissau to hold their elections. But to resolve the problem in Guinea-Bissau, I did not work alone. I was always in communication with the Secretary General in New York. I always briefed the UN Security Council. Every 3 months, I would travel to New York. Sometimes I could not travel to New York. I would use VTC, video conference with the Security Council members. But I tried as much as I could, and that's what I told the people in Guinea-Bissau, my staff. I didn't come to Guinea-Bissau to look after you, I mean the UN personnel. I come here to look after the people of Guinea-Bissau. So I delegated internal matters of the mission to my chief of staff, my chef de cabinet, a very smart professor, academic from Nigeria, Baba Femi, but many others in the mission, wonderful human beings. I told them, I have to be out. I have to take the UN to the people. So I traveled extensively around Guinea-Bissau. And beyond my formal duties, I mobilized extra international assistance to communities in Guinea-Bissau. One lesson, the special representative of the UN has to be seen, to be connected with the people, to care about the people. You have to be seen to be doing more than your call of duty, your bureaucratic mandate. The Secretary General in New York gave me full freedom. Ban Ki-moon was very pragmatic. He said, I don't care how you resolve the problem. I care is that you resolve the problem. If something goes wrong, I back you up. If it goes well, we all celebrate the success for the good of the people of Guinea-Bissau. But also I had to bridge differences among the countries in the region. They're all divided. Some have different interests in Guinea-Bissau, overlapping interests. So I had to gain their confidence. I had to build bridges among themselves. So this is what I did. I finished that mandate. I was praised by the UN Security Council. African leaders sent me official letters thanking. There was discussions of my role in the African Union meeting in Addis Ababa. Ban Ki-moon, Secretary General, invited me again to lead another UN institution. That was the high-level panel on United Nations peace operations to review the UN peace operations as a doctrine, as an operational aspect of it, on how the UN can better prevent conflicts and how it can intervene in a timely manner to prevent an ongoing conflict from getting worse. It has to do with faster UN Security Council decisions and faster deployment of troops. Easier said than done. But again, to succeed in having a report and recommendations to be approved by the Secretary General himself, the General Assembly, the Security Council, I and my colleagues, we were 17 people, all outstanding. They were the real brain for this initiative, for this project. We had to make all the UN member states, Africans, Europeans, Asians, feel that their report was their own. So anyway, in a nutshell, I'm conscious of the time. That's what I did. That has been my journey to build peace, to prevent conflicts, including in Timor-Leste. We are at peace thanks to many other leaders. My role has been very limited thanks to great people like Shanana Guzman, Marie Alkatiri, Taur Matarua, General Lere, President Lugolu, all of them. Thanks to them, this country has been incredibly peaceful, at least the last 15 years. I wish you all great success in this symposium to celebrate the 100 years of this great institution, the Rotaries. May God bless us all.